Peace, 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 peace. Oh, ooh, let's get it started today. Let me position. Oh, Lord. Let's get it started today. Okay. Put that. Ooh, boy, I need to put some shea butter in my hair. Anywho, let's get it started today. Pickaboo. Got my horn in the back. Train horn. Beep, beep, beep. You know it's about to be something good. I swear I cut my hair. It just grow back so fast. Okay. Sound the alarm. Sound the horn. Sound the horn. Okay. If I ever got this on with the lion, you know I'm about to roar. Then I don't have my tea. My throat feel a lot better. Feel like my throat chakra got activated. Feel like I went through something just to come back even more powerful. Why do they think that when they try to spiritually attack someone, like we just transmute it, alchemize it, and rise above it? If you know, you know. Let's give honor to the source, to the creator, to the divine. We're bringing us here. Woo! Yeah. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here. Let's give honor to our ancestors, known and unknown, that came before us. Gratitude to yourself. Chop it up. Speak it up. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Y'all ready to be held accountable? Y'all ready for some activations? Y'all ready to be, because, it's finna get there. It's finna get there. It's finna get there. Where do I start? Where do I start? Wow. That was interesting to see. I love the classical in the back. Y'all want the classical in the back? That's a good feel. I don't know if I can I focus with that in the back? I'll turn it out a little bit. No, because words may come in, but it's okay. When I got this on, I'm roaring, y'all. I am roaring. Oof. Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. Y'all don't mind me. I'm like always trying to critique myself. But to each their own. Let's get it. So I was writing out some things and take what resonate, let the rest fly. Oh my gosh, did I even upload my other video? I don't even believe so. It's okay, I'll go in there and do that. Yeah. So, as you always know, and I feel like a lot of my messages are geared towards for the matriarchal, which is the mothers, the daughters, the grandmothers, and so forth. And spiritually speaking, a lot of you are that, even if you don't know it. You know, your daughters have their eggs. So spiritually speaking, or, metaphorically speaking, they are ancestrally, generationally, mothers and grandmothers to be when they come of that age, if it's meant for them to be this lifetime a mother or a grandmother in the physical. But spiritually speaking, they are that in a spiritual sense. Like, they still hold that matriarchal energy, or matriarchal, some people said, or maternal energy, motherly energy, naturally. Naturally are emotional, nurturing, just like water. Emotions like embraces everything. Okay, so I've written some things and I'm gonna just go into detail. I'm just right now naturally being distracted by these beautiful birds that I'm seeing, but I can stay on topic. Okay, so these messages are to make some of you very uncomfortable, only to bring you back into a deeper awareness of yourself. Come back home to yourself. It can be triggering. You can get angry or whatever it is. Hey, I'm only a messenger. I'm only here to share. I'm only here to express. I am fun. I am amazing. But let me get right into it, because I've had the honor earlier to come across a video that was very insightful, and I'm going to share in my perspective later what I've written about that. Going back to that though, I was writing something, some may say channeling something, or just from my own perspective. It's almost like as I become more emotionally like aware or in tune through my own experiences, learning things. And I want to make this very clear, because for one, I feel like this collective energy that I'm picking up on, especially for a lot of our mothers, women, the matriarch on this totality. I know for some of you that watch me, that may be new to this, that it can be very challenging, especially when you're seeing, because it's different perspectives, seeing a man on here talk about such things that probably is new to you, or even if it's not new to you, I will say allow your spirit to be discerning. Like, your superpowers is your discernment, your intuition. I have no intentions at all, because I know what you have experienced so much. A lot of you own this, if you want to say, in this world, earthly plane, in your reality, I don't care, on all levels of things, that a lot of you that have internal conflict, that some of you can perceive this message as probably being inaccurate, that's fine, or triggering, or even more so, like, can be manipulative to some who are in tune, but that's the thing of my purpose, is to be authentic, because to some of you, you've never seen this, and then it's very challenging for some because they've never seen it in person, because that's a difference too. Because I can speak it on here, but you know nothing about me. So that's why I say receive what resonate and let the rest fly. Everything isn't for everybody. If this is not your story, if this is not your message, so be it. But again, more grace to a lot of you that have went through a lot of things traumatically, or mentally, spiritually, and physically, whether that be abuse, or in some type of dynamic to where it's probably challenging for you to accept this or receive it. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm at peace with that, you having your perspective. But again, my grace and love goes out to you, that you find clarity and truth in your own story, that you realize that you are your own main character. And more so, I know that in a world that hasn't valued a lot of you, especially some as darker women, and women of all shades, but it can be very difficult because there's different perspectives to this. There are, like, me having sisters or mothers or women that I know who their perspectives are different when it comes to the world, because of how they have been devalued, how they have been attacked, how they have been manipulated, even the belief systems that they have came to comprehend or understand, or even more understand now, that has corrupted them. And even the ones that my grace goes out to you that are even unconsciously aren't aware of what you're doing, that you may find the clarity. Also, to those of you that, again, that are of different shades, that you may not realize something, and then this brings you online, or brings awareness to you realizing your behavior patterns or self-destructive patterns, because I've become aware that even different women of different shades aren't even aware, and some of their programming is so deep, whether it's religious things, whether it's something that has corrupted them, that they don't even realize that they've been a part of something that has corrupted them, to how they're unconsciously have been a part of something that affects other women. So a lot of what I speak about is holding the matriarchal accountable to bring a new belief system or way of being. It's not to convince you of anything. It's a way of being so you can liberate yourself. You know, a leader leads you to yourself to bring you a deeper self-awareness, a deeper connection emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, however you want to perceive it, to you. You know, whether that's through the uncomfortability of addressing things that you may have never heard, that you didn't realize that you were a part of, and so forth. So my love is to all of y'all. Like, you know, the truth is very uncomfortable for people who have lived in such a comfortable lie, you know, or lying to themselves, or a false narrative or a false identity, you know, for so long. So it can be very challenging with, you know, the consequences or facing, you know, things that in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever age, because I speak to all women, even in younger women, to be a bridge to this video is timeless in a way to where they come around to it. You know, younger women are realizing like, well, this could not so much validate, but give them confirmation on why it is they should walk in their truth. Because a lot of those younger women are in the position where they have to, like, they're almost relying on the generation that really not so much has failed them, but has so much failed. I don't like the term fail, but really has lost sight of themselves. A lot of women that are 30s, 40s, and so forth are so deep into their own, how can I say this, self-righteous or stagnant ways or whatever, that they literally have pushed the younger women out to be relying on self. And when there's no guidance, or where there's no father, where there's no discipline, when again there's a distortion of feminine and masculine energies and principles that we both have, then you see this displayed, and then our women, young women, are left to fend for themselves. And so, you know, this is why the healing or having a deep awareness of self is so vital, where I come on here to hold y'all accountable, because some of y'all don't realize how deep your connection or attachment to your own belief systems have affected so much of the youth. So I speak from the youth, from the generation before them, before me, you know, to highlight the fact of like, we all are a part of what is transpiring. What we're doing reflects the world that we live in. That being said, I send my love to the younger ones, even having a daughter, because coming into this awareness, I have a responsibility not only to myself, but to instill in her that you are magnificent, beautiful, a divine spark in creation beyond what is presented in your physical, your external. It's in you as a princess, as a daughter. A lot of you as women have never been told these words as, you know, from your father, because of their belief systems on whether religion, whether, you know, whether you travel through military. It's so many things, different perspectives. But I also want to tell you, as mothers, daughters, women, young women, whatever, you are valuable. You've always been valuable. You've always been loved. You are lovable. I get it. It's times where you have felt like you've been wronged, and you want to hold on to so much of that pain, and you've never been shown a way to find a solution, because some of us are looking externally for that solution through these said corporations or through these said careers, religious beliefs, and so forth, to find a sense of validation or existence. And we do this sometimes unconsciously through our relationships with the men that you with, relationships with the business and so forth, and what else? Through, you know, unconsciously through the father, from a father wound. So I address these things so that we can no longer continue a cycle of, you know, carrying these father wounds, whatever your age is. So that being said, I was writing some things just so it's just words that could be received, or for you'll know who it's for. But it's basically, it's been so easy for our women to focus on basically what I was just saying, who wronged them, and create and focus on who wronged them in trauma bonds, rather than liberating themselves from generational traumas of unresolved issues regarding their mental and emotional and physical state. Never giving solutions, only temporary fixes, medically, communicatively, or financially. The list goes on. To some, even millions and trillions of of women, of a never-ending cycle or story of suffering in silence, silent cries of years of unresolved problems, false promises through religion, financial business ventures, yet they're told to keep going on without resting. So, yeah, whew. And you know what? And it's wild because it's we don't even realize, through the distortion as men, have we been just unconsciously telling women, or telling them forcefully through our distortion, that keep going, keep doing what you're doing. And we have been in a society where it's been taught to us that, even though we've been to continue to take on how people set no boundaries, especially for women, to set no boundaries, and there's never been nothing to give you solutions, or an outlet, a healthy outlet for you to create these healthy boundaries or solutions, to find a sense of peace, to find a sense of mental peace, internal peace, love, harmony, and so forth. And what this has done, it has enabled, again, I've said before, enable a patriarchal system that reflects this same distortion within you. And I know that can be troubling for a lot of people to accept, but I always reference the fact of, like, you are the first teachers. When are you going to stop enabling the behaviors that really reflect you? When are you going to stop allowing said behaviors or things to continue? And I'm not saying through these fake feminist groups or fake empowerment spiritual groups and stuff that just want to prey on your childhood woundings, harvest your energy, and take from you, and literally prey on your childhood woundings. I'm not talking about these men who come on here and give you all this relationship advice, but not really giving just to get money from you, just to, literally, when I say prey on your childhood woundings, or literally like play on your emotions, it's a manipulative tactic just to get said donations, just to get said things to build their false sense of structure or business, which eventually, once you start to recognize who you are in your power and take back your power, you'll be able, through your discernment, to realize that how you have manipulated you. And sometimes you don't know it, but they are manipulating you. And so this is when they are exposed for who they are, and will always be, because it was never intended that way. So as I read on, the importance of how we need our women to spiritually ascend. This was a beautiful video that I came across of, this sister. I'll share it in my community center or community section, of how the importance of, like, how our men or young men who aren't aware and have this disconnection with, almost like, what's the term she used, like solar energy, or it represent of, like, the term semen retention, or literally finding their purpose in life. So this has what we don't realize, the distortion of the matriarchal has enabled this distortion that we see in young men and in men today. So when our women don't realize their importance of their role, how do we ascend as a society? How do we ascend in communities? How do we ascend in humanity? So that's why my message is always mostly the audience of, the matriarchal, our women, to hold you accountable, to realize, like, what are you enabling? What are you supporting? And a lot of what I realize is, like, a lot of things that have been in place for you to support so easily is because you want to feel a sense of belonging. And some of you don't even realize unconsciously, because of your father wounds, or whether you have traumas or whatever, you unconsciously, or support groups, corporations, or business, or whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, that doesn't reflect your core essence or your core values. It doesn't support you. Let's be honest. It doesn't support. It's not reciprocating that support, whether financially, emotionally, spiritually, so forth. I can go on and on. So the importance of, let me read this out. We need our women to spiritually ascend as men in authoritative position. And the reason why this is so important is that if our mothers and women that don't know the importance of their value spiritually, emotionally, and so forth, then you have unconsciously or knowingly, some that are, like, let's be real, some women that know that are corrupt, like, they know what they're doing. And they know that these are some of them that behind these corrupted leaders, they knowingly are supporting, and that will be exposed eventually, well, already is. They're knowingly supporting these businesses or things behind these corrupted men and corrupted leaders, or whomever in these communities. There are women that are wicked, as you say, within themselves, or ugly within themselves, that they don't want to change. And these are your women behind the scenes doing the little magic tricks, or doing things to literally be in things, to group settings and so forth, to simply literally prey on the woundings of our mothers and women and little daughters of this world and in these places. That may be a hard pill to swallow, but I'm not encouraging people anything like pills or anything but that terminology. It may be tough, but it will be revealed. So let me continue. We need our women to spiritually ascend as men in authoritative positions that empowers all, not the false sense of power. And this is where you see these power struggles. Not this false sense of power to keep our women in a stagnant disposition. This is your, and it's so funny how I say, this is your stay at home and raise the kids mentality. You're only good for sex mentality. Get married and submit to your husband, false sense of power to control and manipulate, prey on her childhood woundings, or father wounds. The men who stay in your place, nothing that truly honors or celebrate her essence of her being, her being, then women being forced to take on these belief systems, whether religiously, whether, all across the board, to take on the man's belief systems or of the world, from these men who are wounded or these men who are egotistically wounded, and threaten you with consequences. I know y'all know that all too well. Systematically, when you see a lot of these structures, you tell us who living in the house, or you tell us who's doing this, or else consequences. And a lot of that fear propaganda is fading. The illusion of that, the illusion of, the false illusion of giving our women to believe that they're not here to thrive, that they're not the beginning of they're not the foundation and glue of why we thrive as men. I've been getting my ass whooped spiritually. I am not perfect. I had to be shown my distortion, my abusive tendencies in the past, my emotionally abuse, things that literally reflected the mother wound, like things I was not aware of at all. Because unconsciously, what was subconscious from learning my mother's belief systems on how she viewed men and then carrying that emotional resonance. And to me as a little boy, where you're talking about being emotionally abandoned or emotionally abused and physically abused, and carrying that narrative of like, she wronged me subconsciously. And then when it gets to that point, I don't know how to, at that time, knowing how to navigate those emotions. So there's an impulse, there's an anger there from dealing not just with her, but other people. And so we're taught as men and women, especially little boys, when we don't know the importance of emotional intelligence to navigate these things. So what end up happening is that we take this pain, we carry all these things generationally, and women do it as well. And we literally project it onto everybody. It's like projectile, like throwing it up, like onto everyone from our own experiences, from our own internal experiences, and our body keeps the score of these experiences. Our mind keeps the score. Our spirit keeps the score. So it's very challenging for our women who have been wrong consistently, especially darker women. I'm not discrediting what has happened to different shades of women or lighter shades of women. It's going to be a complete different perspective from a darker woman, because simply that what she has endured, she hasn't had a safe place or a place to express that. It has always been pushed aside. Now, this has also happened in women that are lighter, because you just do it differently. You just your perspective would be different because you have also went through things or endured things, trials and tribulations, where this false sense of power from men who are in religion or whatever construct or military or what has you seen in America, they've also, you just haven't told your story, but you also have been emotionally abused and mentally abused and spiritually, what else, in ways where you've enabled or unconsciously enabled because of your subconscious fears of the consequences. So you stayed in these relationships, in these marriages, to literally not knowingly enable these things and created your own suffering, because you're suffering inside and you're suffering in silence. So you're afraid to tell your stories. This is all women. But when I'm speaking about in reference to me being a darker man, from what I've seen consistently from darker women, because that's my experience, I've only seen what I've seen here, to be able to tell from my experience of what, I'm not saying all women, but women that are a lighter shade, when I'm using the term Caucasian, is that, again, I've talked about how, a lot of you aren't aware how you also have enabled this false sense of empowerment through men that are, you knowingly are egotistical. Or what's the other term? Egomaniac. Is that a word? Egomaniac? Or I think that's it. But ego-driven men, power-driven men that literally hide behind their false sense of identity or false sense of empowerment, literally because of their wounded ego or their mother wounds, And the reason some of you don't, or unconsciously don't even know this, is because you don't even know what a healthy relationship looks like. And so a lot of you are coming into your awareness in your 40s, 50s, 60s. And I said before, is why you're going to see the divorce rate so high is because systematically, energetically, how these structures have been created was from a sense of false empowerment or control or manipulation. I'm not saying you don't love the person, but when you're looking at certain things when it comes to paperwork and certain things like that, again, I'm not asking y'all to accept this, but when I look at the fact of how these structures have kept the matriarchal or women from really liberating or living in their own sovereignty, it cannot be ignored. I was a part of it until I decide, like, hold on, what am I enabling? What am I supporting? So with that, that's when the shift begins to happen. So again, I've talked about your stay-at-home mothers, this mentality. And these are women who suffer in silence, who never talk about it, who have unfulfilled dreams, who want to literally liberate themselves because there's no space held for them for their emotions, because they hold more of a safe space for their kids, and they're literally believing that this is how they should be. You will literally have people argue me up and down, whether in comments or in so forth, but I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to remind you that you never had a healthy relationship. So you've taken on a belief system and a programming of someone else's. Who taught you that it was okay to be a stay-at-home mom? Who taught you that your dreams doesn't matter? Also, your vision or your dreams or whatever it is, your desires are not just as important as your kids. Aren't you a blueprint to show them that, okay, mommy, outside of mommy is still a human being, or mommy still has a little girl within inside her who still have desires. But deep down, depending on your demographics, they were unfulfilled because of whatever you experience. And I'm not saying to blame anyone. I'm saying the accountability. Because a lot of you mothers, and this is just from experience, y'all have this superhero cape on to where you don't even know how to take off the mother like identity, because you never had room. No one has really never made space for you too in the so-called, I'm gonna use the term, white America. Y'all have also enabled a narrative that I said before in the previous video, that you're so happy and you're hidden behind your materialism. Those of you that know what I'm talking, you hidden behind, you disguise yourself very well. But deep down, you go out here in these groups and so forth, in your group settings, and you literally mask yourself. And the funny thing is, a lot of you women, you can pick up on it. Your discernment is like, you really don't want to be there. You go there because of, you don't have a sense of you don't have the confidence to say something. You don't have the you've been in a place of being so disempowered, or you have been in a place so much of not really knowing who you are, that you engage in these group settings, or you force yourself in these places where you are unpleasantly unhappy, or I guess I would say that, or so yeah, I go on and on. And that being said, and then you have these husbands these power-driven husbands who literally egotistic and power-driven, or who literally, some of them know or don't know, and you have a society that they built their businesses and all that literally off of ego, wounded ego. And so this is where you see a lot of people on here talking about relationships and businesses or whatever it is, that literally is created off a false sense of empowerment. Your music reflects that. A lot of artists, a lot of things reflects that, to literally keep your little daughters, you as women, in a place of disempowerment, to keep you disassociated from really knowing who you are. So I'm not blaming you. I'm just calling it out. So when you look at your music, when you look at what's going on, there's nothing that empowers you. That's very few. I'm not like, there's people out there that are coming to this awareness, but y'all don't even question the fact that why isn't there anything that empowers women, no matter your shade? Why isn't there structures in place when you see this distorted patriarchal, why isn't there a representation of things that empower you? You know, to to find a solution, to find inner peace and inner peace or mental peace. And so, what else? There was something else I want to get into. How we have treated our women and daughters reflects the world we live in, and that says a lot about men. It's like how we. Hold on, let me see. Basically, okay, hold on. The women in the world, or women in its totality, dealing with the matriarchal, is a reflection of the world. That's deep. The sister said it in the video. How you treat her, or how will you treat the world, or basically how you yeah. That says a lot. So how are we treating women? And that reflects the state of the world. And if women is the representation of the world, because it says a lot how we ignore the fact that most of humanity are women. Most of what you see is feminine energy. It's not the energy, not a gender, feminine energy. Meaning things are ever changing, nurturing, things that are not seen, things that are more spiritual. So you've had a world or a dysfunctional society that have just been fueling wounded egos, distortion, woundedness, trauma. So then you will have women who enable. Hold on. If women reflect the world, then how this continues is our women believe in their internal world is corrupted, and then you will enable men or create men who are distorted internally, which leads to women believing that they're corrupted and our daughters corrupting our daughters, which again breeds more hatred. Because if we're not holding space for our women, then they don't hold space for us. If our women don't have places to hold spaces for themselves, then we are literally creating a society, which you see right now, that doesn't hold space for each other. There's no compassion. There's no nurturing. That's the importance of the divine feminine rising and being restored. Y'all don't even realize how the powers that used to be, this has been the focus to keep our women out of so much that you're literally removing the glue, the nurturing, the love, the harmony in things, which there's nothing that can withstand or have been created without this feminine principle, without women being who they are innately. That is who they are divinely. So through their being mistreated, women, they develop this hatred. They hold on to how they've been wronged. This is creating resentment. This develops self-hatred, a self-hatred belief system. And this subconscious, this creates subconscious fears. So then which you don't have women who are aware that they're doing this until they come into this awareness, is why I share it. They unconsciously develop behavior patterns and begin to project onto the sons who grow into these men who birth a distorted emotional perspective on how they view women. And then this creates more dysfunctional created a dysfunctional patriarchal society. in today's communities and world structures. It's really that simple. And so, you know, as much as we wanted to ignore and you want things to get better, how can we get better? We want to say, oh, we all got to get better. My emphasis and audience will always be geared towards the matriarchal first. If our mothers don't learn how to be better for themselves, how can they nurture our sons into their purpose? How will they nurture our daughters into becoming more to be more self-aware of who they are outside of the dysfunctional society, teaching them that they're only good for what? To be viewed as an object, to parade themselves in ways to where it's like disgusting or degrading. So again, it's like, what are we enabling? And this is my going out message too. I know it's a challenge for a lot of you mothers, women especially, that you don't even realize. Some of you are unaware of how much that resentment that you carry. And you and your mother and her mother generationally. I talked to someone the other day that I can just tell. I don't have to name no names, but I don't know, she may see the video, but I just was able to recognize something that was bothering her. And I knew that she had some type of anxiety. She will remain anonymous because, this is a very touchy subject, but she was biting her nails like repetitively, and like it's almost like this sense of unsafetyness. And a lot of our mothers and women, our daughters who have experienced some type of trauma, they are unaware of the unsafety, unsafetyness, if that's a word. But they, even no matter how they dress and present themselves to the world, they feel a sense of unsafetyness. They don't feel safe in this world. They don't even feel safe in their homes. And the reason I say this is because through my unconscious patterns sometimes, or through my belief systems, I've created environments like that. And until I became more self-aware of like how the distorted feminine and the belief system that I developed through a mother who was wounded, and becoming more aware of how I, as a man, through trauma bonding, were creating things or what recreating or reproducing at a time a generational pattern of what I experienced in my childhood. And when I saw, the girl, like, she was biting her fingers, like biting it, like, if you ever notice someone, this is graphic if you're not ready, so just turn away or just go, like, you don't have to listen to this part. So, but she was just nibbling at her fingers and stuff, and I was like, whoa. And so I asked her, I was like, what are you okay? How are you? And that this is a form of, like, talk therapy. If people don't know, it's asking someone a question and then them getting out is a healthy way of them acknowledging it. And so, it led into some things that are very graphic, like I said, if you're not ready, to her telling me about how she was sexually abused at a very young age. And, then I began to tell her that, like, I also was, abused sexually young. And, some things that we are, we believe that other people aren't going through things, or we think that we have to know them for years, but the divine will align you with things to show you that you know, I want to put you in a position to show you that like what you have done and what you are doing is going to be relatable to people who don't look like you also. um I want you to be able to be a vessel to be relatable to all people. So um I was telling my partner, like, growing up, a lot of us have just seen consistent people that look like us. So we're thinking like, I'm thinking like, yo, people that are different shades or whatever, they not going through that. Or, we're given this narrative on television like all people that are lighter shade, that programming are happy, abundant, have all the riches and have all this. And that's another illusion and spell that humanity has been like being liberated from now, is that certain people are just superior or just greater or just well off. And through my experience, I was grateful enough to be able to travel and go places so the divine can reveal to me, like, no, I want to show you that it doesn't matter your skin. This person has traumas. This person is going through shit just like you. It may not look the same, but the energy is the same. Your experiences may not be identical, but the pain, or you can still relate to this person. I want to put you in position to be able to show this person a solution. Now, I didn't say to fix them. I said show them or be a guide. And I feel like that's what a lot of, even as our mothers, like I share with y'all, like, talking with her, I was there to be a guide. And even in talking to her, that's still a form of emotional support that the world is missing, because again, our mothers, our daughters, these are women that are, she was in her mid-20s. These are women, that are in their 30s, 40s, 60s, that are still in a loop of different places where a lot of them have unconsciously dove into certain religion and literally thinking that they're going to free themselves or find some type of liberation. And I'm not saying this is all, but I've seen it to where they have experienced some type of trauma. So they look to this external source or believe that this is something so deeply that can free them from themselves. And it's, in a way, it's like I can see how the manipulation with that has kept people from really powering through or maneuvering through the feeling. Like, that's the sister I was talking to about that, seeing how, like, she nibbling on her hands and asking her, like, why do you do certain things? And I can just see a little girl just scared, because we don't really know a lot of people's experiences. And it took a while for me to realize how I had to become more safe within myself so people can be safe with me. That's a huge thing. To where when I tell you that on my previous video, how there are darker women who don't feel safe around women that are Caucasian or lighter skinned, because they're programming on how their narrative of how they, or even their experiences from their ancestors of what has happened and transpired in this country and around the world. So there's this deep resentment, or this idea like they're better because they have this, and that's far from the truth. So this is why you see a defensiveness or a projection on, well, you did this to my people. And I'm not saying what not to be true. It's the solution to where, like, when I was speaking to the sister and then, connecting all of this, it's like no one is like, it took for me to be a darker man to talk to that lighter skinned woman to show her like, look, I see you, I hear you, and for her to feel a sense of belonging, whether it was from that experience of her trauma or just a sense of wanting to be seen again after that experience. And so this is why you see a lot of women who avoid each other, because deep inside they don't feel a sense of belonging because of whatever their experiences have been, or they subconsciously feel like they've been wronged by a people or by structures or certain things to where they don't see a solution. So they stay more in a victim mentality, or they did this to me, or this happened to my people, or so many things I can go on, and and that's more from like people who are in certain demographics that are darker. This typically like some of their mindsets. And so women that are lighter, I can see how their avoidance, of dealing with darker women because of their own subconscious fears, or the fear of how they know, not everybody, how their family or some people have wronged people that are darker. And so their avoidance through interacting with them. So it's so many things I can go back and forth on. But the bigger picture is like how we all carry, or probably whether it's your experience or not, we carry so much of being in a society where we are taught to carry so much of our traumas, or carry the unrepressed, unresolved emotions, traumatic experience, and of how we've been wronged, rather than being taught how to alchemize or to work through or to navigate through those emotions, through those traumas. There are not structures in place where you can have people sit across from each other and ask them like, why do you feel this way? What's your perspective? And then people having to like learn through those emotions or feel what they need to feel. Literally feel. I've had to do that. I'll be honest with you. With certain things, it's like I wanted to hate a certain people. I wanted to and that's people that are darker, people that are of certain things, because I just feel at times it wasn't fair until I was shown or to step outside of my comfort zone to personally learn how to have the courage to be confident in being who I am, and not allowing those things people that wronged me or people that did things of different shades to define who I am. So that's the greatest thing I can share with anybody. It's like the empowering our women, especially, to get outside of your comfort zone. Go meet with someone that you typically don't meet. Go associate with someone, or do something in a setting where it really makes you feel uncomfortable, but it teaches you to find a deeper awareness of who you are. And that goes back to like my previous video. What I mean by that is like I was brought to this specific place or environment to be able to recognize like what people and how they have created communities upon an energy, and then having to have the confidence to still do this, create, rise above, to develop a deeper awareness with myself, and to personally evolve. Like in my previous video, I talked about this. Instead of dwelling on the who wronged you or dwelling on the past, shout out to Hood Healer, step into a space of alchemy and ask yourself, what have they given me? And I'm gonna say this from two different perspectives. Especially, let's begin with darker women. When you ask yourself that, what have they given me? Or and I'm gonna read on. It says, every energy that enters our fields, even challenging ones, can be a gift. Now, with your experience with whether it's your own people that look like you, your mother, father, whatever, or people that don't look like you, how can you develop a deeper awareness of yourself? What did it teach you about you? What did it teach you about those people? How can you take that lesson and grow personally, evolve from it? And when you ask yourself, what has it given me? And this means from even people who come into your space. Because I've dealt with people who are racist. And, when I was younger, I used to respond to certain things just because how people said certain things. But then when I became more deeper aware of who I am as a man, a darker man, and then beyond even the skin color, I started to realize, like, this reflects its own personal internal battle or conflict. Why they don't like people that are darker. This reflects their lineage. They ain't got shit to do with me. And they have to choose to personally evolve, just like it's your responsibility. So what have they given you? Meaning that if you dealt with anyone, what opportunity can you see to better your relationship with yourself? What can you do differently? What can you create? What can you pioneer your own way to find that inner peace, to find a place where you can harmonize things? Will it be challenging? Of course. But you got to look in the mirror at the end of the day, not them. And also, too, women that are lighter shades or whatever. Ask yourself, what in yourself, in your lineage, people that you have dealt with, you have asked yourself, like, why has my grandmother and grandfather, why are they racist? Why don't they like people that are darker? Why are the things that you can no longer ignore, why do they hide behind whatever it is that they do? Does this really reflect your core values? What have they given me? And again, I've said before in a previous video, they giving you an opportunity to do something different. Or the different perspective is like, whether people that are darker have wronged you, even though you're lighter. What does this give you an opportunity to do? Do you cower and hide and realize, I don't want to have nothing to do with them? Or does this experience validate what your grandparents or mother and father have forced you to believe, that all people are like that? Same thing with darker people. It's the same thing. I ask y'all don't question or think for yourself to realize, like, what have they given me? Your mother and father have given you this life, this vessel, outside of just your skin color, to pioneer, to do something completely different. Even your kids, a lot of things, what are they reflecting back to you? They're giving you a love that reflects back to you all of your deepest insecurities, all of the things that you want to hide. So again, to the matriarch or our mothers, I see what society, I see what these communities, I see what these corporations have given you. I see how they have wronged you for generations. I know it's tough. It's not easy. But that mindset can change when you realize they've given you, what have they given me? An opportunity to rise above this, to get through these things. And a lot of you already have. That's the beauty and the resilience and how y'all continuously press forward through adversity, through manipulation, through those, what the quote say, like through the most malicious of energies, or, benevolent of energies, you're still here. That says a lot. So, with all that I've said, it's on you. Because it's there's beautiful things that's on the horizon. And if you can be resilient through your dysfunctionality, why can't you be resilient through your functionality? If we have seen a society or a place seeing a distorted aspect, and we won't change, we want to create it, put your energy more onto what you need to do for you, especially as women and mothers. And put your energy to more, ask yourself, what have I been enabling? What have I been giving myself? Have I even held space for myself? What have I been giving me lately? Who has been reciprocating this dysfunctional behavior? Who's enabling this dysfunctional behavior? What corporations, what places, what things are in place that have been enabling, false narratives, false empowerment, things that don't support me genuinely? And when you find those answers, which they're already there, allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself to cry, allow yourself, I don't care if it's in public or not. Because when you've been in a society where a lot of these things are not normalized, who cares who looks at you crazy? Remember that the highest form of love is standing up for yourself. We've been given false narratives and, the illusion that people are protecting us, and we countlessly have been in like situations where that's not to be true. And it's not going to change until you stand up for you and set boundaries. That's liberation. That's the only way you're going to literally find peace and harmony and balance, is when you realize that you are here to live amongst yourself, people, the birds, and so forth. So that's what I have to say today. To my mothers, my women, my young women, I see you. I hear you. I hear the silent cries. I see you. I appreciate you. You are valuable. You are the glue to everything. And, give yourself grace. Come back home to yourself, because then you'll be able to recognize why us men are also effed up too. I'm not perfect. I don't come on here to try to be perfect. I have done some things that are not okay. I had to go through my spiritual ass whoopings. I had to go through things to really see how much the distorted feminine and masculine energies that have been displayed has affected the ones that said they cared about me and the ones I cared about, until I realized it had to stop with me, until I became more aware, until I chose to evolve. And with that, then those around me evolve. And then whoever doesn't want to evolve, they just literally dissipate or fall away. So yeah, you got this. I believe in you. You got to believe in yourself. So yeah, and it can start wherever you are. I don't care what type of demographics you in. It can start where you are. But there has to be room where you have to learn to hold space for yourself. And I know it's challenging, because there has been nothing that have held space for you to cry, for you to let it out, for you to be who you are. And the shift is here. It begins with you. I'm just here to remind you that it's okay to hold space for you, all the versions of you, the versions of you that others may not comprehend and understand like you do. But there are others, such as myself, and others that will come into this awareness that will realize that have held a space for those parts of ourselves, that will see you and not be judgmental. So I appreciate you all. Love you. Peace and blessings. Take care of you. Shalom.